a team that is actually getting slept on right now is the San Antonio Spurs. They are 17-12 in the Western Conference. They're 5th right now in the seedings. They're 8-8 against 500 teams and 9-4 against teams below 500. I did not expect this. I thought the Spurs were not going to be a playoff team, and if they were, I thought it would have been the 8th seed. I did not see them this high. DeRozan has taken a leap as a playmaker this year to the point that Spurs fans want DeRozan back. They currently would face the Suns in the playoffs, and I think they can win that series. I know that the Suns got Booker, they got Paul, they got Ayton, but you look at the talent on the Spurs. You look at DeJounte Murray. You look at Keldon Johnson, Lonnie Walker, LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan. I mean, I think they can beat most teams in the Western Conference on any given night. Outside of the top teams in the West, I don't think it'd be crazy to say that the Spurs can beat them in a series because they are so well coached. They're going to be probably the best coached team in any series that they play, and because of that and their talent, I'd give them a shot to win, but I did not expect this out of the Spurs this season. They have been playing phenomenal.
And when you say top teams in the West, I'm assuming you're referring to Jazz,
Clippers,
Lakers,
Jazz,
Clippers.
Lakers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, I agree with you. I've been very impressed, pleasantly surprised with the Spurs this year. I remember when we were doing our preseason previews, I did not expect them to be like this. But one thing I did say was they need to embrace that young talent. And I think DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, as well as they have played this year, they've taken a slight step back and let those young guys shine a little bit more than last year and years before that. And it has paid off tenfold. DeJounte Murray has taken a big step forward. Keldon Johnson has taken a big step forward. And a bunch of those other young guys who we've mentioned time and time again on the podcast have taken leaps. And they've done a great job rebuilding in the wake of Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and almost starting over in a way, but using that same system. They still have Greg Popovich, who you mentioned, the greatest coach in the NBA, one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. He's got a great staff behind him. And with a crop of talent like this, I feel dumb for not having seen this coming. Because with a coach like Greg Popovich and the talent that they have, I should have known better than to say they weren't going to be successful this year. Because, seeing them come into their own, it's made sense with such a great coach like Greg Popovich.
I don't think that you are, because I think the Spurs shouldn't be in this position. I know that they are, but I don't think they should. You look at a lot of teams that have been underachieving in the West. The Nuggets are one. The Warriors, we thought were going to be better. The Pelicans, we thought we were going to be better. We thought the Grizzlies were going to take that next step. They have not had Jaren Jackson yet, so that's put a pause in that. But the Spurs, there are a lot of teams in the Western Conference that are really good, which is why we thought the Spurs, not that the Spurs were going to be bad, but it was the West. If they were in the East, no doubt about it, they would have made it because it's the East. But in the West, it's a much different story. But what I found interesting is that they're 22nd in points per game. They're 12th in opponent points per game. And what that comes out to is that they score 110.9 points per game, so 111, and they give up 111.2 points per game. So they actually have a negative net rating on the year, even though they have a winning record. And I think the best part about their team is that they don't turn over the ball. They're first in turnovers, so they rarely turn over the ball. And this is a team in the Spurs that has not fully embraced the three-point era. They are not chucking up threes. DeMar DeRozan is still playing in mid-range like he always did in his career. They are still playing fundamental and foundational basketball. They are playing different than the rest of the league. And I give them a lot of credit because losing Tim Duncan, losing Ginobili, losing Parker, losing Kawhi, which is the biggest loss of them all in this decade, they did not tank. They did not choose to trade DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge and blow the team up. They decided to compete, and they are competing, and now they're 5th in the West. And I think a lot of teams should follow the same path because there's a lot of teams that like to lose until they get the top picks like Philly did with Sam Hinkie, and now you see them, and they still have nothing to show for it. Whereas San Antonio Spurs, they are actually giving their fans something to watch and look forward to every single night when they play.
Yeah, it's tough to start from scratch in anything, and especially in the NBA, and you've seen it with teams who have tanked. So the Spurs have done what you would expect a first-rate organization like the Spurs to do. And, there's a couple of organizations around the league who you would expect to do things the right way. The Spurs are one of them. They've done it, and Greg Popovich has put this franchise in great hands. I would imagine and assume that Becky Hammond is going to be the next in line once Greg Popovich decides to move on from coaching. I think she's going to make a spectacular head coach, learning right under the tutelage of Greg Popovich. I think they're going to not even skip a beat in that transition when the day comes. The part that I would be interested to see is, where they move forward from here. I think they could be a playoff team this year. I think they could upset a team in the first round, like you mentioned, just because they're so well coached and they have a really nice crop of talent, a deep team. And although, I'm interested to see what they can do this year, I'm more interested to see what the future looks like for them. What happens with DeRozan and Aldridge, and where do they go next? Because I really like this young core, and I'm intrigued to see where they go from here.